people are like, that's usually what people say before they die. Like, you're not dead. I'm like, okay, I can't talk to you guys about this. It's fine. It was fear. This has to be maybe the second time I'm only expressing it with someone. And I was smoking a lot of weed, but I was reading the Bible at the same time.
Hello and welcome to another Cosmic Chats. Today we have the wonderful Nikole Denise, also known as Nikole Denise Comedy. She is a mother, a writer of children's book and stand-up comedian. And we're going to find out about how she had a profound spiritual awakening at 19, 20 years old, that she began to listen to her own inner voice and it changed her for the rest of her life. So how would you describe the taste of a banana to someone who's never had one?
That's an interesting question. Um, I would describe the taste of a banana as sweet and slightly mushy in texture. Um, I think that's all I got. I think that's the only thing I can think of to describe a banana is sweet and slightly mushy in texture. That's my answer.
Do you like bananas?
I love bananas and I eat them very weirdly. Don't I have to eat the outside of the banana first, and then I slowly kind of chew at the inside.
But
It's the
not the
weirdest thing.
skin, not the skin.
No, I peel it first. Completely. Yes. I think that would have took me into insanity mode. But no, I peel it first, but I have to like bite off the top outer part first, and then I eat the inside.
I have never heard of anyone doing that with a banana.
I know.
With
I know.
chocolate, so there's some English chocolate we would always sort of bite around the outside, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you have the middle bit. That I understand. But a banana, is the texture really different on the inside?
It is. So exactly how you describe eating that chocolate is how I eat my banana. And it drives my husband crazy.
We're going to leave
Because the
that one
inside
right
has
there.
it's weird. It's odd. It's one of the many weird things that I do.
We're going to leave it right there.
Yep.
So, looking back on your life and how things have morphed for you, when would you say was your first existential life crisis as a child?
Ooh. Ooh, so many. Without completely dragging this completely down, I think the main one was the move that we made from Detroit to Los Angeles, my mother and I, um, because she separated from my biological father, and she had that, we got to get out of here, switch everything, start anew. I'm 5 years old. I am planted. I'm used to something. And she sold everything we had. And so I just watched everything we had go, and we moved to another state. So I think that was my first, that was a bit of a crisis. I still wake up sometimes like, she sold my records, but my Michael Jackson
Whoa.
records too. It's
So you
still to this day.
had nothing that you packed with you to move. You just literally got on a train or plane.
We got on a plane. So we had our clothes, but all of our belongings, my toys, my records, all of that sold, gone. And we're going to another state with just clothes
Did you have any
to live with
recollection
someone.
of you asking to keep any of the items?
Um, I don't. I don't have any recollection. I know me. I know what my favorite things were. So I'm pretty sure I asked because I can still remember those things. I can see it. I can see where we live. I can see those things clearly in my mind's eye. So I know I had to have asked, but I don't have that memory. But that was a lot.
Yeah. So do you think it was from you couldn't keep something that was dear to you, or a lack of understanding as to why are we doing this?
Yeah, it was definitely lack of understanding. You know, as a 5-year-old, you don't even the smartest 5-year-old is like, wait, what's happening? Wait. And I think that's just what it was with minimum explanation. You know, to my mother's credit, it was, let me guard you a little bit. We just have to go. We're going to start in a new place. It's going to be an adventure.
And she was
And
very positive with you about this.
yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
planned. So the selling of the items, it was planned. Everyone knew you were going. So
Yeah.
it wasn't
I
a midnight run.
No, it wasn't a midnight run. It was just things are disappearing. Like, huh, things are selling, you know. And then it was one day like, yeah, all of this is going, and so are we. But we're going to a whole nother state and we're gonna live with such and such. And I'm like, well, who is that? And oh, you'll meet him when you get there, you know. It's a family member that you never heard of. So that was something else.
And you got there, and how was it?
Um, it's a shock to the system. You know, you imagine being a 5-year-old, you had a house that you lived in, a school that you went to. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a whole nother state, in a smaller space, meeting someone that you're going to live with for the first time that you've never met, who is a family member that you've never met. So it still doesn't compute. And now you're going to get, oh, you're going to go to a new school and this is a new environment. There's a whole nother state. There's a way people from Michigan talk and the way people from California talk. So it's, you know, it's completely different and you're just chucked into it. So it's something. I do remember those what is happening moments.
And when you look back now, you see that from the intellectual point of view, as the adult, it was beneficial. It made perfect sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think just from my own healing work that I've done, I can completely understand why my mom did what she did and the way that she did it. And although I harbored a lot of anger about it through like, you know, preteen years and stuff like that, as I got older, I completely get it. And I have grace with her about it because I get it. And no, you know, no adult is perfect. My mom did exactly what she thought she needed to do in that moment that was best for me and her. And that was it, you know.
And even though you understand intellectually as an adult, what was occurring in your teenage years that you were still harboring it? Because I would imagine if you had an amazing time in California, everything was fabulous, then this wouldn't have been harbored on.
Oh, oof, yeah. It wouldn't have been harbored on. But, you know, you can hide stuff from kids when they're small. The older we get, you sit around family members, you get a little bit more, and you get a little bit more. So once I figured out the full story of how it happened and why it happened, and you know, now I don't see my biological father, and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, "Hey, where is he?" And she's like, "He doesn't exist anymore. He's gone." And so that brought about a lot of anger, resentment, you know what I mean? And although my mom remarried and she met somebody maybe about a year after we were in California, she met my dad now. So now here's a new guy. And I'm still processing the fact that, hold on, I actually have a dad, but where is he? So all of that, all of that pain like just surfaced in that preteen years. And there was anger, there was frustration, there was sadness, there was not feeling worthy, you know, it's all of those emotions. And oh, I lashed all the way out. I lashed all the way out. Yes, there was a
What was the
good
craziest
chunk
thing
of,
you did?
If we're keeping this clean. It was just horrible stuff. I remember, um, I think one of the, I know it's not funny. It's definitely not funny. But I think one of my funniest stories, as she leans in, like, tell me. I'll never forget. I was in such a rebellious stage that I stole a beer from, we had like a family birthday, and I took one of the beers. Now, mind you, I'm in seventh grade. I'm in junior high. So I took one of the beers from the party and I hid it in my room, put it in my backpack. I took it to school the next day. So while class is in session, I'm sitting in an outdoor hall. It was like an outdoor school. I'm just sitting in the hall, just drinking a beer. Didn't care.
Did anyone say
Drinking
anything at school?
drinking a warm beer, by the way.
Okay, from
Warm.
England, we are fine with warm beer.
It
Moving
was
on.
California, you drinking a warm beer. They're like, what is wrong with you? Drinking a warm beer. And I know there's a hall monitor. They come around, there's a security. I know this. I'm cognizant of this. I didn't care. So he comes and he's like, what are you doing? Why aren't you in class? And I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to be. And he's like, what are you drinking? I'm like, what does it look like? I was that kid. Keeping it clean, because my words weren't clean. What does it look like?
And what happened?
Of course he took it. He took me to the office, called my mom. I'm in the principal's office, made my mom leave work, come down to school to pick me up. My mom's gonna kill me. Came down to pick me up. Oh, it was a thing. So I spent 7th and 8th grade. I had done so much stuff. 7th and 8th grade during recess and lunch, I had to sit in the principal's office. I was not allowed out amongst the common folk.
In the principal's office, what were you told to do? Stare at a wall, do your homework?
Yeah, I could do something, do the homework. Recesses aren't that long. You bring your food, you sit, and that was it.
And what did you do?
Yeah.
Did you have any creative endeavors that you started, like drawing or writing?
Oh, I've always been a writer. I've always been a writer. I've always been really artistic. At some point, I think I wanted to be an architect. I wrote my first little pseudo book at like 9, so I've always been creative. When I was 7, I told my mom I was going to do hair on TV, which I actually did, so I've always been creative. I've always been knowing. So it didn't stop me from being bad, though. It didn't stop me from rebelling. I wasn't bad. I was rebelling. You know what I mean?
What was it, the fact that you graduated middle school, junior high at that point, that you then stopped getting the detention? What stopped it happening?
Oh, I graduated. Yeah. Up until, that last year of 8th grade was all in the office.
What advantages do you think you got from being in the office? What was the silver lining that you got from being in there?
I don't think any. Maybe one or two less fights, maybe. That was about it. It probably had stopped me from doing a few more things. Who knows? Who knows what would have happened in that 15-minute recess with me?
So if you were the principal now of the school, looking back with your wisdom and your knowledge, what do you think you might have done differently for that kid?
With my knowledge, I think I would kind of go with, okay, I know when I did this, there's a root reason. There's always a root reason for someone's actions. Anyone's actions are not just on the whim. There's a cause. So I think I would have tried to have conversations with me to understand the cause of my actions, as opposed to just being like, you sit over there until the bell rings, I got work to do. Because that didn't help. Really, it was still like it was still that same feeling of what I feel is being dismissed and what I need is not being fed. So it didn't help. It was just there I was just there with more time to either stew or think of something, think of something else horrible to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, what am I gonna do tomorrow? I think I might try to buy weed tomorrow, you know, like
Did you become better at your studies?
no,
No.
no. I've always been smart. Even in my bad years, even when I was messing up, even when I was ditching, even when I was doing all the stuff you're not supposed to do, I still got very good grades.
And this was primarily based on tests, is that right?
That's yeah. And I would still do my work. I don't know. I would still do my homework. I would still do my work, but I was gonna cut up at some point.
So you weren't sabotaging or hurting yourself to the point of not being able to get an education. You still
Absolutely
had
not.
investment in that. And where do you think that came from?
I don't know. Definitely not me per se. I that is pure angel on my life guidance and protection. I think that is exactly where that comes from because it wasn't me.
Do you look back now and see other times in your life where you were protected?
Absolutely. Almost every time. I can almost account for every moment of close. Nikole was close to death today. You know, like I can account for every moment where I was right on that edge, but I'm still here. So
And do you think this was in the form of you making a decision at times?
what do you mean? Like not
Well, that for some reason, let's say there was a decision you were faced with, and there was one choice that might have been not really too beneficial for yourself or the people around you, and then there was another choice. And you felt at the time that lashing out, it would have made more sense to make the decision that was not beneficial for you. But for whatever reason, you were simply not charmed to do it, or you thought, I'm too tired, and you sort of went in the other direction.
yeah. Oh, there's several times. Lots of times. And I think that, like that's all God. That's all God. That's all that, guidance of God, my ancestors, the angels that watch over me, which is my belief. That's all that little whisper that I wasn't completely in tune to then, but I knew it. But now I'm in tune to that. But before it would be those moments of, I'm with a group and somebody's about to fight. And I'm like, no, wait, stop. This might not be a good idea. Let's wait and see what happens first. And then something snowballed and we could have been in the middle of it. But
Mm.
I heard that small moment of no, don't do it. Always been there.
So you had a channel where you were able to listen to, we're going to call it intuitive voice, right? That intuitive, people
Absolutely.
like to use the word divine, intuition, guidance, whatever anyone likes to call it. We're talking about that
Yeah.
inside voice. When did you become aware or wake up to the fact that you had a capability to listen to it, or you came to a place of reckoning with yourself that you were protected and carried?
Um, let's see. Um, in depth, I would have to say, uh, what was I? Maybe like 20, 19, 20-ish. And it was just a moment. I was at the beach, which is my favorite place to be. Um, and I was smoking a lot of weed. I'm sorry, just just and I was reading the Bible at the same time. I was reading the Bible, and it was just a moment where you kind of feel that shift. And I just got a download of of information about myself and about all those moments. It was almost like that divine presence was like, here's all the moments I've covered you. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. It's like a movie played in my head. like almost like a trailer, like where it just shows all the clips, like clip, 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 clip. This is the reason for this, clip, 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 clip. And I just remember sitting there and I had to process all of that and just no idea completely where it came from, but aware that, oh, okay, there's something about me that's different from everybody else. And this is why I've always felt different. Not everybody gets that moment because, like I try to talk to people about it afterwards, like, yeah, I'm at the beach and, I saw like everything flash before me. And like, people are like, that's usually what people say before they die. Like, you're not dead. I'm like, okay, I can't talk to you guys about this. And it's fine. But, and then it was just moments of, okay, now I remember that feeling. Oh, I remember hearing what I thought was just my thoughts, but it was really guidance, So
when did you come to a place of then dipping in further into your healing work? You had this awakening, and then you realized you really couldn't relate that to a lot of people. What did you do as a result of that perception change, that awakening?
nothing. I hit it like a normal person would.
Like a person who was asleep would, right?
Just hit like I hit it.
That's, well, yes, obviously, but that's ignorance, ignoring what you know, right?
Yeah.
In its
But
purest form.
it was fear.
Well, fear causes
Is what it
ignorance.
was.
Fear
Yeah.
causes
But
ignorant behavior.
from my perspective, it was just complete fear of judgment, of, oh my God, what are people going to say? Like, oh, I am, I'm different. It was that. So I just kept it in. Like, this has to be maybe the second time I'm only expressing it with somebody that I don't know,
So,
It's something that
what did you, as a person, not necessarily do about having that experience, as in sharing, but what did you do in your life and how you behaved in your life after having that awakening that you were protected during these times?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think once you, and this is just in my perspective,
That's
once
all we have here.
right. And I always have to say, in my perspective, once I kind of awakened myself to, okay, there's more, and there's more that wants to connect with me, and I'm connected to more, then I just started to research, study, pray more, meditate more, get in tune more, research more, pray more, meditate more, research more, pray more, meditate more. So I just started to develop what I was feeling and find the reason for it so I can understand myself better. And that's pretty much what I did. Yeah.
And so you continued, peeling back not the banana, but the onion, as it were, with yourself and these patterns and what happened. And as a result, how did you feel? Were there moments where you felt like you dipped into a quagmire of memories that you didn't want to sit in?
Yeah, of course. But I found the comfort in sitting in them and feeling the feelings of them and then feeling the release from it. So then I got used to sitting in the discomfort of things because I don't mind sitting in the discomfort because I like the feeling of coming out of the discomfort. So I hope, did I answer your question? I feel like.
So you now felt a capacity to feel uncomfortable than before.
Yeah.
And then when you acknowledge that you feel uncomfortable, is it that there's no rush for you to get out of it anymore? You allow the process to move through, or you do like to rush out of it?
No, I mean, I allow the process because rushing it, I've tried it, but rushing it pushes you into a whole nother kind of worms. You can't rush any process. A process is a process. So I've learned to allow things to unfold. And I just learned to have faith that I'm going to be brought out of it and I'm going to be able to have perspective. And maybe that perspective can help somebody else. So I don't rush the process at all. Sometimes it sucks. Ooh, it sucks and it ain't easy. It is one of the worst things to do and experience, but
Did it change at all your agenda of what you think you're supposed to be in this world?
yeah, it does. It does, and it continues to.
Yeah. So where did you come from originally of what you thought you were supposed to do or be in the world?
Well, originally, I thought I was going to be doing hair and just traveling the world and living in New York and, maybe have a couple of boyfriends. I was never going to have kids or get married. And I was just going to be this 70-year-old fashionista just doing hair for the stars. And yeah, and here I am married with 2 children, not doing hair in the industry anymore. And I'm doing stand up. So everything changes.
And
Things
with
change, boy.
with your children, can you see any reflective behavior that you did when you were younger?
Um, yes and no. Their circumstances are a little different than mine. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, um, they didn't experience some of the traumatic things that I experienced before 5. There were things before that move that happened that were really traumatic, but they haven't experienced that. But there's aspects of my personality in both of them, in both my daughters, that I can see.
Do you regularly, knowing with your practice that you've had to help with your healing, help train them that mom needs some time to herself?
Oh, absolutely. They know I have a corner. I have my meditation prayer corner. When mommy's in the corner, it's mommy's time. Okay. Now the little one does not care about mommy's time. I will tell you that the 6-year-old cares nothing about your sleep or your time. But what she'll do is she comes and sits with me,
Mm.
and they like it. They like so I have to adjust mommy time to when they're occupied, but they know when I'm in that corner, business is being handled. Let me be.
Yes. So when you put yourself in the timeout,
Yeah,
respect
mommy's in her.
my
That's what I need to
timeout.
start calling it. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm calling it mommy timeout.
Mommy needs her time out, right?
Yeah.
And as big advocate of meditation, those who know the practice that we teach, children get to learn at no financial cost at all. If a parent has been doing meditation regularly, because children learn by, from what you have shared so accurately, the actions that adults do, not necessarily what they say. And so the parent or the guardian has to be practicing for at least 3 months before a special kids technique is learned. And if you're curious about what it is, we have a free ebook. It's called Vedic Meditation Stories. You can get it Amazon. If you have unlimited Kindle, you get one for free, and you don't need a Kindle anymore. And you just open that up, and it's really brief, and it's the only publication right now globally that has true stories from people who learned the practice, who wouldn't normally learn meditation, unedited. Yes, it will kill some of you to read it, but it basically is so you can hear their voice, but you hear their heart, and you can hear the authenticity behind how it changed their life. And many are from underrepresented groups. And if you want to learn more about what Aware Meditation Inc. is with their nonprofit, going and teaching meditation to underrepresented groups from very well trained teachers. They all have at least 6,500 hours of training. They got a lot of their own stress out the way to teach a systematic technique that you can do for the rest of your life that doesn't actually require a corner, although corners are great. You can do it sitting in your car, on your couch, as long as you feel safe. And with that, I would say, what would be your word of wisdom to yourself, or phrase you would say to yourself as who you are now to maybe your 5 or 6-year-old self?
Ooh, can you hear my kid? That's so funny. My phrase to my 5 or 6 year old self would be
Hopefully of
stay
inspiration. Okay, Nikole.
right. It could have been so many things. I'm glad you stopped me. Um, um, oh, to my 5 year old self, I would say, um, don't stop shining just because you're different.
Mm,
Shine anyway.
yeah, let's switch that to shine bright.
Shine bright.
Shine bright, even
Yep.
if you're different, right?
Even when you felt different, just
And
be
that's
yourself.
so important because we are all breaking through those cultural and social stereotypes, not only from ourselves, but those from outside who have upon us based on how we look and how we
Yeah.
sound. And when we break through that, we all get to exactly what you did. You had an awakening experience of it where it was sort of put upon you. But sooner or later, there is a perception change of bringing all the uniqueness out, which is what we want everyone to do. If you've enjoyed our chat today, please please subscribe. It really, really helps the nonprofit. I know you get a million people saying, please subscribe and share, but seriously, do.
Please do. Do it.
Please
Do
do.
it
Right.
now.
I'm seeing an
Do it
angel number right now. So it means you have to.
Ah, what'd you see? Did you see a 333?
I certainly did.
And there it is.
And with that, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see the rest of you on the next Cosmic Chat.